Positioning on the political spectrum is always important for candidates, but especially this year because there are few well-defined campaign issues. Here's more on what candidates and voters are talking about from Oklahoma Forum in this ONR Extra.
Well, I think it is a case where Republicans are trying to figure who can move the farthest to the right in the primary, because the voters consider themselves conservative. They're looking for that candidate that they think mirrors their views and values. And as a result, I think we have seen a lot of nationalization of the local campaigns, particularly at the legislative level, where Obamacare has become kind of the poison pill if you are in the legislature and have any votes related to anything related to the healthcare exchanges or anything like that. They are votes that, frankly, they're getting beat up on. And really, the bottom line is, I think there is a lot of confusion and a lot of misinformation out there with respect to what has happened in Oklahoma versus nationally.
Cheryl, that's nothing new. Democrats have done that for years, and indeed everybody moves one way or the other in the primary.
I'm just wondering if it's a long-term good strategy for the Republicans. For 100 years in this state, Democrats locked down those county courthouses. They locked down the municipal offices and the state legislature, running on local issues. It was all local. And so we have a presidential year, so necessarily some things get nationalized. But I think that the Republicans keep going back to this playbook again and again and again. And eventually, I'm just wondering if it's going to play out for them long term to be a good strategy to hold the legislature and to hold those statewide seats.
Ted, what else do you think, in terms of a nationalized type election, what else do you think is going to be important this year for Oklahoma voters?
Well, certainly the health care issue has been a big one. The usual conservative social issues have all been brought up. If you look at some of those contested primaries, especially where there's a Tea Party candidate running against a more traditional Republican incumbent, those national social conservative issues are getting brought up all over the place, and those have become some of the nastiest fights we've seen so far. So I don't think that pattern's any different than anything we've seen in certainly the last 4 or 8 years, or maybe longer. I just think it's kind of more of the same.
What about jobs? We know nationally jobs and the economy will be the #1 issue. Are we hearing that here in Oklahoma, or is it some of these other things?
I think we're seeing it in the polling in these legislative races. When you ask the voters what is the most significant issue, it's not education, it's not roads, it's not Obamacare. What is coming up is jobs and the economy. So I think it is a major issue. I think when you look at the campaign material, you almost without exception in the Republican primaries are seeing that issue addressed, and for a very good reason.
When it's jobs in the economy, does that favor any particular candidate or any particular party over the other? Or is it just a matter of spin and degree?
It's probably going to favor the party that's opposing the president, who for better or worse, always gets blamed or gets praised for a good or bad economy. So it's certainly going to favor Republicans. I think to the earlier point, you've got more social issues in primaries, necessarily so, because they're posturing for that nomination. We'll see more economic issues come up. But in this election, I think what we have seen overlooked and undervalued are women voters. What these candidates, I think, failed to see is that women are starting 2/3 of all small businesses in America, and they're growing at 2.5 times the rate of all businesses. And so we've seen this pop up again and again and again with women voters. But the fact is they outvote men, and they outvoted men 10 million, by a number of 10 million in the last presidential race. And so I think if anybody's missing the mark, I think that it's these candidates that are not appealing to women on their issues, and those issues are economic. They're not just social issues.